you. Thanks, Matt. So thank you everyone for being here today. It's another one of our spotlights where we do our best to highlight some of the program and program offices at NAVWAR. A little quick introduction to Connect and SBIR Connect and how it all comes to life. Connect is a nonprofit here in San Diego. We support entrepreneurs and innovators with multiple different programs. SBIR Connect just happens to be one of them. But if you're interested in different type of support, such as mentorship, education, VC support, please check out our website, connect.org. We have Springboard, cool companies. We also have office hours for SBIR Connect, but also for other programs. Now, SBIR Connect or SBIR Connect got started last year. It's a direct partnership with NIWC PAC under NAVWAR. That's the Naval Information Systems Warfare Center and Command. And really this partnership is about being able to have and foster relationships between the government and industry and academia. So we've been doing our best to have educational videos for you, as well as these type of workshops to learn what the government's interested in. And how you can collaborate, but also host office hours and things of the sort for you. So we're very happy that you're here. If you have any feedback, please fill out our survey at the end of the event or just send us a comment. Our website is connect.org/SBIR. Now for today, we have 3 speakers that we're very happy to have. So thank you all. We will begin our workshop with Shadi Azum. Shadi Azum is a program manager of the SBIR STTR program at NAVWAR. He'll do a bit of an update as to his program, and he'll also explain a little bit of the program. So if you're new, don't worry, he'll touch on that for a little bit today. But really the main speakers today are Brian and Noel. So Brian Akagi is the Assistant Program Manager for Science and Technology, or APM for S&T, for the Battle Awareness and Information Operations Program Office, or PMW 120. Don't worry if you're new, you'll get used to the acronyms. And then we also have Noel Ashot, who is the Principal Assistant Program Manager, or PAPM, for the, and bear with me here, with the Innovation Support Services, or ISS, and in the Enterprise Systems and Services and the ISS portfolio under POMLB. POMLB is a Program Executive Office for Manpower Logistics and Business Solutions, or PMW 250. So thank you both for being here. Thank you to Shadi, who's always here as our TPOC, or technical point of contact. And so just a little bit, Shadi will go, Brian and Noel will then go, and we'll hold all of the questions till the last 10-15 minutes. But as they're presenting, please ask the questions and we'll get to them at the very end. And with that, I will let Shadi take it away.
Thank you so much, Gretel. That was a great introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Shadi Azum. I am a program manager for the SBIR STTR program out of NAVWAR. We are just one of the many different Navy system commands that engage and fund this program. And so I wanted to give a little bit of an update on an announcement that we have right now on the streets for if you are interested in participating in the program and you'd like to submit a proposal to one of our topics. I wanted to give a little bit of little update, little tips. I will make a small comment that Gretel and I have partnered up together to create a series of training videos about the program. I have like one slide about SBIR and STTR, which just gives you the highest level summary of the program, but there's so much more elements to the program that I think would benefit if you take a look at our set of videos that we've posted, and that's at connect.org/SBIR. That being said, I am going to share my slides. Hopefully you guys can see it. Okay, so it's just a couple of slides to kind of give everyone an update on our current announcement that's out on the streets. So I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. First things first, for those attendees that have never even heard about this program, this slide is probably meant for you. SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation and Research. STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer. There are two programs. They've been around since 1983, and they've been a program that gives small businesses seed funding to help address some government needs. I believe the term Connect uses is non-dilutive. So it's funding that we give you, you don't return it back, but we give it to you in an effort to grow your portfolio as a small business, but then also return the favor with us with some product or solution that helps address what we are looking for in the government. And I speak from this because every command has their own set of needs. And so me representing NAVWAR, a lot of the topics that you will see posted publicly for companies to bid on to get this funding is in response to the needs that supports NAVWAR. So this slide, it just summarizes the program. SBIR and STTR both provide seed funding to help address government needs. One of the things that we always ensure is that every one of our topics that you as a small business bid against or submit a proposal against has a commercialization aspect. That simply means that we do not pigeonhole your product or technology to just one of our programs. The intent is to develop a solution that can commercialize or be applicable to outside of NAVWAR. So a lot of the topics you will find will have a, quote, dual purpose use to them. For SBIR, if you ever do apply, there's the discretion if you are a small business that you are welcome to subcontract that work. A lot of times we do see small businesses subcontracted to a research institution to capitalize more on the subject matter expertise that universities do carry, or for a large business on their case to help with some of the testing resources or some of the assets that might not happen at a small business level. The difference between SBIR and STTR really comes down to the required and non-required engagement. SBIR gives that discretion where you don't have to subcontract to anyone. If you're a small business, you don't have to. Versus for STTR, there is a requirement that as a small business, you do subcontract your work. And that's specifically to a research institution, with the research institution doing at least 30% of the work. Both of these programs are competitive. And this is my last sort of slide that covers the basic summary. There's so many different components. So I just highly encourage that you visit some of our videos or some of the helpful links that the connect.org/SBIR website does have as additional resources to you. Every one of our SBIR awards, so every time you do receive seed fund, this so-called seed funding, you are in response to it gets rolled into a very large sort of public document known as a broad agency announcement. I like to equate that as like posting something on a bulletin board so that everyone can like walk by and see it. But this is the more virtual bulletin board, if you will. It's a very, very large document because it not only contains information about how to submit a proposal in response to a topic, but the addendum of the BAA contains every single one of the topics that you have as a small business an option in submitting a proposal against. There's no limit to submitting a proposal to many different topics as long as you're not duplicating your own work. And we do post topics 3 times a year, typically around April, August, September for this current cycle that we have out on the streets publicly. We did release it at the very end of August. So if you ever want to check out what the Navy's topics are that you can bid right now, it's through this link. And this leads to my next slide, which covers some important dates. We hope that you, if you have been interested in our topics or if you've seen our topics, that you've submitted a proposal close to submitting it right now, because the end date to submit it is the 21st of October. So it is this week. And so we want to emphasize that as a small business, if you are competing or you are submitting proposals in response to topics, that you do follow the timeline that we do. We are very strict about closing the portal for submissions and won't open it up for any specific reason. I do want to go over a couple of things. If you visit the link at the very previous slide, It does contain 3 types of dates: a pre-release, an open, and a close date. And very briefly, I wanted to share what each of those mean in this slide. A pre-release date is the first time as a small business you will see our topics posted publicly. It gives you the teaser to what exactly you could propose against. Between pre-release and open, you don't really submit your proposal during that time, but it gives you that opportunity to contact the topic authors to gain a little bit more clarification on the topics itself. So in this particular case, for the one we have out on the streets, between 25th of August and September 20th, that's a period of time where you as a small business, if you see a topic, you're interested in the topic, you can contact the topic authors, which are listed in each of the topics, and get more information about them in a more intimate setting. Phone and email is our most common communication mediums in there. Once the open date starts, which in this case was September 21st for this particular cycle, that's where you are, as a small business, allowed then to submit your proposal into our specific system, which is based on the last link that I sent in the previous slide. And then for 30 days, you have that opportunity to kind of submit. And you can ask questions during the open and close period. The difference, I would say, is that the questions are posted publicly. So it kind of, if you have a question that somehow implies what your solution is, and you're more afraid to sort of share that in a public setting, that's where I would advise you to capitalize on the period between pre-release and open. But open and close is the time where you do submit it. And so if you are interested in submitting a topic for this cycle, please do it as soon as possible. Just a small tidbit for those that are not used to our nomenclature, we do have sort of, it's at the top here at the title, 21.3. So for those that don't know, so 21 implies the fiscal year for which we do submit the topic. I know we're a little bit overlapping because we're now in what we call a fiscal year 22 right now, but it indicates a year of when we submitted the topic. After the decimal point indicates a cycle number. So for SBIR, you will see either 1, 2, or 3. And for STTR, we term it A, B, or C. So this 21.3 just implies it's the third cycle of the 2021 calendar year for those topics. This is my very last slide, which covers some tips for all of you. Do not wait until the last day to submit your proposal. I stress that a lot. We do get a lot of emails from small businesses that complain that the portal is down, and that's mainly because there's just an influx and the bandwidth they can't take the bandwidth, or the portal can't take it. So we encourage you to submit your proposal as soon as you can from that start of the open date. Ensure that your proposal adequately addresses the topic. We've seen some cases where a small business will kind of like put their hands, over their eyes virtually and just throw their proposal at a topic and see if it fits, or they probably believe that, it's not a response to the topic, but maybe, the government will be interested if I just submit it anyways. I would caution against that, we do have a set of criteria that we evaluate. So it doesn't benefit you as a small business to submit a proposal if it just doesn't meet the topic that we've pushed out there. Third thing to note is to read the broad agency announcement. It is a lot. I mean, if your kids are really having trouble sleeping at night, it's the perfect way to get them to fall asleep. I'm kidding, but it does contain valuable information for you if you are submitting a proposal to understand what are the requirements. We even go into really big details about like the size limits, the font size limits, the margins. And if you don't fulfill those requirements that are listed in that document, it could be rejected. So please take note of that specific document itself. And then last but not least, I did steal my thunder earlier, but take full advantage of the pre-release period. The date between pre-release and open. That's a time where you as a small business can get more information about the topic by contacting the authors directly. And that also allows you to gain a little bit more information that you might not get from the topic itself. So a lot of companies, I think, forget to use that period of time to figure out, to get more details, but also to figure out if their solution really does meet the topic and should they spend the time to create a proposal. That being said, I think that ends my briefing. I will give it back to Gretel.
Thank you, Shadi. Thanks so much. And yes, just to emphasize what Shadi said, we do have a set of videos. They are short, they're 2 to 3 minutes long that highlight broad agency announcements, nomenclature, how the process work, the different phases. So please take a look at those. And if you have questions, just reach us at SBIR@connect.org. So the next person is Brian, Mr. Brian Akagi. Thank you so much for being here. So while Brian introduces himself, I'm going to mute myself and share his slides.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Gretel, for your hosting this and introductions. And I am going to show my ignorance. Let's see. Let me see if I can. So are you, okay, so
Got them.
that's, okay, very good. Okay, so I'm gonna let you push the slides since I'm not used to Zoom. We have teams in the Navy, so I'll let you do that.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready and I'll go ahead and change them.
Okay, thanks. So I am Brian Akagi from PMW 120. We are the Battle Space Awareness and Information Operations Program Office. And you want to go to the next slide. And our mission is pretty much to provide the warfighter pretty much everything they need to know to be able to prevent kinetic or non-kinetic engagement. So we basically want to make sure that we are more capable of our adversaries, and so that they will not want to engage in any type of conflict with us. So so our program office consists of 3 mission areas: information operations. The ISR is the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And METOC is meteorology and oceanography. And you want to go to the next slide. So this is kind of an overview of what the Navy, at least our program office, part in the, we want to be able to just enable the warfighter to be able to perform all the, have the intelligence and the capabilities to be able to be aware of what their environment is they're in, and be able to be aware of their adversaries, and be able to know what our resources are, so that we can be able to, I guess, just be able to maintain superiority in case that we are involved into a conflict. So how we do that is that we are the program office that does the acquisition for all the systems that are required for these types of operations. So we want to, you know, we're part of the kill chain to be able, or enable the kill chain to be able to make sure that we maintain our superiority. So the last thing that we want to do is we don't want to go into battle. As our little bumper sticker says, every battle is won or lost before it's ever fought. And having our adversaries know that we are we're capable of defeating them will deter them from trying to engage with us. And so we want to maintain that superiority, and so that's what our mission is. Next slide. So within PMW 120, we have multiple programs that support our missions. Here's a list of pretty much this is our complete list of programs. Actually, there's subsets of these programs as well. However, each mission area has multiple programs, and I'll just let you guys read these as far as what our objectives are. So, well, the IO information operations is primarily signal intelligence, and that enables the electromagnetic maneuver warfare. So basically that gives us a picture of what the environment is electronically from signals perspectives. So being able to know where our adversaries are, what capabilities they have, and being able to know how our Navy can maneuver or operate in that environment, so that that we would be able to maintain superiority against our adversaries. Our intelligence, our ISR pillar programs focus primarily on processing data and distributing data from multiple sources. So whether it's within the Navy or the intelligence community or other services, we try to, or our mission is to gather that information, fuse it together, and provide that intelligence to the end users so that they're able to operate. And our meteorology and oceanography mission area has primary objective is to just measure and assess the environment, primarily weather, and to be able to provide that to the warfighters so that they know what kind of weather or physical environment that they're involved in. And just as a note for small businesses and SBIR efforts, the first project or program listed under the METOC is HWDDC, and that's the Hazardous Weather Detection and Display Capability. And this was actually a small business, a SBIR effort that was, I guess, matured into an actual capability that the Navy is using. And all these program names are in the backup slides. So you can see what the actual programs, what the acronyms expand out to, and a brief overview of what their capabilities are. So yeah, if you deal with the government or the Navy, there are lots of acronyms. So I guess that's pretty common within any large organization, but we seem to have a lot. Next slide. So part of our challenge now is that over the years we have been developing our programs and capabilities, and they've pretty much been developed in standalone environments, and so they don't always talk to each other, or they're not interoperable with other capabilities. Excuse me. And so what we are, one of our big efforts now is to make these, our existing capabilities interoperable with each other. And so even though we have multiple programs within PMW 120, it doesn't necessarily mean that they all talk to each other. Although that, if they do, it would strengthen our abilities. but but just being able to have those connections helps strengthen our capabilities and be able to help the warfighter. And just on the top of this slide, it shows who our stakeholders are. So we work with OpNav, which is Navy. Oh man, that's bad. I forgot what OpNav stands for. Anyway, we have different stakeholders: OpNav, Pac Fleet, USF or U.S. Fleet Forces Command, NAVI for the numbered fleets, the various SysComs, the intelligence communities, and international partners as well. And so this is where our well, I guess there's three drivers as far as how our requirements are derived, or kind of dictates of where our priorities are going to be, where our priorities are as far as developing new capabilities. So we get input from our stakeholders. We also develop capabilities based on the threat environments, what our adversaries' capabilities are, and also the fleet demand, in that certain stakeholders, or Pacific Fleet, for example, will have a certain need and will come to us, and we can work with them in understanding what their requirements are, and then we can go and try to fulfill those, look for capabilities that will fulfill their requirements. So just as I mentioned before, that a lot of these capabilities have been developed in in stovepipe environments, so that they typically don't talk to each other. And so we're trying to integrate those together and trying to establish a family of systems type concept, where we can take advantage of all the capabilities that we have, instead of having to rebuild capabilities, is just to be able to share them. And so our current our mission needs, at the top is the C5ISRT, which is the counter C5ISRT. Is the command control computers, and cyber, and I should know this.
I think it's communications, but I might be wrong.
That's right. Command control, communications, and cyber, and then the ISR is the intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance, and the T is the targeting. So basically, what we gather, the intelligence and the capabilities that we build to defend against our adversaries, we counter that for our adversaries, trying to understand what their capabilities are, and we want to counter that. And the OTHT is over the horizon targeting. So that means is being able to know where our adversaries are, and being able to target, to be able to shoot our adversaries, or be able to reach our adversaries before they can reach us. And so being able to know how far they are, how far we are, what our resources are as far as engagements are. We want to be able to reach them farther out than they can retaliate. we try to just have a comprehensive capability so that we can have the ability to be able to maintain our superiority over our adversaries. And I think that's all that I had. And then in the backup slides, there are descriptions of all of our programs and our current programs and descriptions, capabilities. So unfortunately, so my presentation is kind of vague and broad by design, just because most of our systems are classified, and so we can kind of give you a general broad description of what we do, but to get the full details and understanding, we have to be in a classified environment to do that. So I apologize for that. But that is all that I have at this time. So we'll address questions later. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for making an unclassified version of all of the projects that you're working on. And thank you for sharing on your SBIR project. I think it's good for people to see the successes that come with it and how you are using it internal to the government. So with that said, the questions will be answered at the end. So feel free to put them on the chat. We'll get to them at the very end of our workshop. So next we have Noel Schutt. She's a PAPM for PMW 250. So I'm gonna, once again, stop my video, mute, and share your slides. So while you present yourself, I'll do that.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. MLB.
Just 1 second.
All right, great. So we'll go to the next slide. So for those folks that might not be familiar with PEO MLB, we have, I should put the MLB org chart in here, but PEO MLB consists of several portfolios. We were stood up over a year ago when PEO EIS was split. So it was split to PEO Digital, which has programs like NGen that you're familiar with, that, you know, data centers and things. And also then PEO MLB took the major portfolios. So we have the My Navy HR portfolio, which is PMW 240. We have the financial portfolio, which is Navy ERP, the new logistics IT portfolio, 2 Marine Corps portfolios that are from Marcor Syscom, and the new data as a service portfolio. And then innovation support services is under enterprise systems and services, the E2S portfolio, which has things like Dawn Tracker, risk management information, the future contract writing system, and so on. So so for innovation support services, we're brand new. We were stood up in order to really focus on the PEO strategic goal, which is goal number 1 is all about improving customer experience. We are the front door to the PEO so that there's a consistent conversation every time for customers. And what you see here on the screen now is our operating model. We leveraged the Naval X operating model when we designed this. So we have 4 service lines. Engagement is where we really build that ecosystem of partners that we're looking for. And that's why this SBIR outreach is so great for us, because we could see a lot of our future pilots and prototypes going through SBIR. We're also in the PEO running our first innovation day in November. And that's also going to be another potential area where we see potential SBIR projects come out of that, depending on, you know, with what our workforce comes up with for innovation ideas. Under navigation, that's the service line that would run pilots and prototypes and do other types of assessments for the PEO, like material solution analyses. And workforce agility is all about improving our workforce and getting our workforce ready for the new best, practices, industry best practices that we need to be able to understand to do DevSecOps, CI/CD type of pipelines. And then digital agility is really, again, finding those tools. What are the best, best tools out there? How should we be doing business? What application patterns should we be using when we're modernizing and replacing old applications? And also having a strong relationship with PEO Digital, because we want to make sure that we're using enterprise services first, things that are already existing. If we go to the next slide, slide 2. Yeah, the next slide is so our current services that we're supporting now. So again, I mentioned that we just stood up recently. We are a lean startup model. A lot of volunteers are helping out right now. We're establishing a rotation program across the Navy, Department of Navy, in order to get people on board our team. And so right now, these are the services that we have. You can see we do application platform guidance. I mentioned we want to make sure that we help the PEO with implementing the new Microsoft 365 tools that we've received. Navigators and pilots, we do have 2 programs. We've recently transitioned into the PEO. One is on the Marine Corps side, and the other one is a future case management system for foreign and military sales. I mentioned the strong relationship we have with PEO Digital, and design thinking workshops is actually also something I just want to touch on, because I mentioned the customer experience. Everything we want to do, we want to start with the user. And so again, changing innovation support services, we hope to change the culture and the way we do business. And design thinking is a big part of that. So we're offering those to our portfolios. And I already mentioned the championing and innovation day coming up. So we can go to the next slide. So these are 2 use cases just to kind of show you, again, being the point of contact coming into the PEO for new work. These 2 examples show you the ones I mentioned, the NIPO program and the SMDS program. Same consistent process that we want to do. We want to quickly get people involved. We want to quickly get them into the software acquisition pathway where you can pilot and prototype in the planning phase. We want to, again, look at the users come first. So let's do those design thinking workshops. We're going to follow an agile methodology. So we need to start developing user stories, identify the use cases we want to pilot, prototype, and then get into that solution analysis area. And again, in innovation support services, you don't stay there for a long period of time. It's really about pilot and prototyping, making sure that we're creating value for the customer. And then we move you into the more appropriate portfolio within the PEO for your long-term life cycle sustainment. Next slide. So I mentioned the ecosystem of partners. So, a diagram you see quite often when you look at program teams that do innovation. We want to build that ecosystem of partners. We want to make sure we're using SBIRs, we're connecting with small business in order to identify what are those best practices we should be doing going forward. And so this is just an example of, what we think our value is to our PEO and our workforce is that they don't need to know where all this stuff is. We can be the one that provides those collisions and connects them to where they need to be and who can provide certain support and services to them. And finally, my last slide is just a contact us slide. If you have any questions, if you want to meet and talk, feel free to contact us on our Flink Speed email address. And also, if you know anybody in the Department of Navy or Marine Corps that in federal service, even government, military that would be interested in a rotation, please provide this information to them, provide that email address to them, and I would love to follow up. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Noelle. On that note, would you be okay with us sharing your slides as part of the recording as well, so they have that email?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. So that answers one of the questions that came through the chat. We ended a little bit early, so we actually have a good amount of time to go over some of your questions. I did see a lot of the questions are more towards Shadi Zoom. So I'll actually start with Shadi. And I'll do one that I think we get to the most, and it's where do we find the requirements for their own technology. So I think that question comes all the time because SBIR is so big, but the Navy's very specific. So
Yeah, if I were to, okay, so I'm gonna rephrase the questions for myself to actually answer it. So every one of the topics that are posted in broad agency announcements do have a requirement listed in them about how that topic address what they're looking for. So I guess the simple answer is it would be already expressed in the topic itself.
Thank you. And I think another good resource for you if you're interested to see if your technology matches any agency, SBIR.gov is actually a really good resource. They have a keyword search and you can see the topics across all of the different agencies that participate in SBIR, and maybe something hits with the technology you're working on now and you can drive that conversation. Okay. So this question is actually for Brian, but I am going to go ahead and say that Shadi should answer it. And you'll see why. So the question is, how many SBIRs do you anticipate in the next year with reference to battle space awareness and information operations? So I'll let Shadi take the first stab at that.
I'll take the first stab at that. Okay, so I would say every topic, or I should say this, every cycle, there's not a prediction of where the topic originates from. So, and I guess to connect everything together in this workshop, so Noelle and Brian are like the two POCs that you would see topics originate out of their office, but not every cycle will there be a topic from their office. That being said, one could safely assume that every topic that's posted for NAVWAR can safely assume there's going to be about 2 to 4 awards. It just depends on a number of different factors. That was a very long-winded answer, but hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll let Brian go if he wants to, but the reason I automatically asked Shadi is SBIR is a competitive program. Giving you any future information ahead of time defeats the purpose and doesn't keep with the integrity of the program itself, which is to be competitive and have fairness across. But Brian, I don't know if you want to talk about any of your SBIR experience, maybe to reel it off of that question.
Yeah, so I think we do. I don't know how much I can say, Shadi.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I sent it up to Shadi.
I mean, we do have. I mean, Shadi explained the process very well. Just that they have the cycles, and then we submit topics as we come up with them, and sometimes we don't hit every cycle. So things pertaining to battle space awareness, at least from our program office, may not be in every advertisement of every every cycle. So sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So
right. And I think, I mean, that goes back to saying you just have to keep an eye on the dates on the broad agency announcements or BAAs, and then keep on top of it. I myself set a calendar with the dates so that as soon as the pre-release date opens, you take a look at what's out there. Some agencies like to post more topics earlier in the year. Some like to break it down evenly throughout. So just keep an eye out. I see Shadi's typing an answer, but I'm going to go ahead and just ask this question, and Noelle, Brian, and Shadi can all answer it. The question says, when looking at solutions for acquisitions, does each program have its own policies with regard to use of a third-party software? More specifically, given that most of these solutions involve custom software, what kind of software security concerns do acquirers have, or software security audit practices in place? So whoever wants to take a stab at that.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Okay. Well, so within 120, the government, or at least the Navy, we have a certification and accreditation process, which uses the risk management framework, the RMF framework. And so any software that comes into our programs has to has to be certified with a RMF accreditation. And that goes through, I guess there's code inspections and just a lot of STIGs and lockdowns and things like that have to be applied. And then it's maintained in that environment. I hope that's answering the question. Over.
Thank you. Noelle, do you want to?
Yeah, I would say for the purpose of SBIRs, if we were pilot and prototyping and experimenting something, it's okay to use a contractor's environment. So it doesn't necessarily, you know, we can look at third-party software. It doesn't have to be fully accredited and all of that. Definitely while we work the SBIR phases, we could mature the software over time, get it FedRAMP approved, you know, get it to IL4, IL5, IL6, wherever we need it. Together with the contractor. So I don't think we have any initial constraints that would keep us from experimenting. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'd like to get Shadi's thoughts too. For those who don't know, Shadi used to be the APM for S&T for the cybersecurity program office at NAVWAR before he shifted over to the cyber realm. So Shadi, do you have any thoughts on that question as well?
Great, no pressure. Well, I mean, I would say it depends, and that's the answer no one likes to hear, but every program will have a different set of policies. So if you are applying to an SBIR topic, or you are working with the government, whether it's funded through SBIR or not, I should say, the government should express to you what those policies are. So you won't be blindsided by any of that.
Great, thank you. This next question, I guess for all of you, specifically Brian and Noelle, how can we, the small businesses, discuss an idea with a program manager such as yourselves? Hence, I'm assuming that's how do we drive a conversation with you, or what's the best way to interact with your program office?
Yeah, for us and innovation, we do industry engagements all the time. So definitely contact us on that email address, and then we'll send you the link for scheduling an engagement. Thanks.
Thank you. And then Brian, if you want to add on, if not, if you guys want to send anything towards Brian, you can send it to me and I'll forward it. Shadi, you're pretty good at answering emails fairly quickly. So Brian, don't feel pressured to give out your personal email.
No, well, so either my contact information is on the briefing. So if somebody wants to contact me, I have no reservations about that. Or Shadi's, I think he's more accessible, but he's good about forwarding things to me. So, but yeah, I don't have any objections of just contacting me directly.
Great, thank you. And I think that's great for all of it. Attendees, because that question came in multiple times. So thank you. So I think Shadi, the next couple questions are more directed towards SBIR. One is, what are some of the biggest challenges for a successful phase 2 cyber execution? And actually that might be also a Brian question. So I think any tips on that maybe might be helpful.
Can you repeat that again? I missed a little bit of that.
Yes. What are some of the biggest challenges for a successful phase 2 SBIR execution? For those of you new to SBIR, phase 2 is what we call a prototype. So phase 1 is feasibility study and phase 2 is a prototype. So I guess, Brian, for you as a program manager overseeing an SBIR effort, what would you say are some of the challenges that small businesses seem to have during a phase 2?
Actually, it's not so much on the small businesses side. I think it's more on the government side. Unfortunately, what I've experienced or what I've seen is that we'll get through a phase 2, but we on the government side haven't exposed it to the program offices sufficiently so that they were aware or excited about what's being developed. And so what we're trying to do better in our program office is that when these efforts kick off, that we immediately start engaging the project leads or the APMs for those programs, so that they and try to get them engaged as soon as possible, so that they can follow it and also provide direction as far as what they would like to see at the end. And so then if it is successful, then they're on board as far as bringing, making it part of their programs. Right. So I think just and actually the businesses that we've dealt with, they're very responsive and they're very capable, but a lot of times the government misdirects them so that they provide something that, in their mind is something that is needed, but then when it gets to the end user, it's not exactly meeting those requirements. Right. So so I guess what I don't know, just try to work with your government, your sponsor, and make sure that try the best you can to understand the requirements and see if but I don't know how you can verify whether what they're telling you is the right thing or not, but at least on our side, we're trying to improve that so that we can get more successful phase 2s to phase 3s.
Thank you, Brian. I think that's something that we've heard a lot of from POCs or that mention, the best way to make sure that everything is just to have as much communication between the government and industry as possible, to discuss, to have meetings, to have phone calls, to make sure that your effort is moving in the right direction. And, also use your SBIR program manager. So like if you're applying to NAVWAR, you can also use Shadi and his team to kind of make sure you're driving that conversation forward and staying on top of what you need to do to have a more successful and effortless project. Shadi, I see you typing the answer, but I'm just going to ask it live. For SBIR Phase 2 awards, is there a similar fixed schedule of announcements, or do those depend on each SBIR solicitation?
That's a loaded question. I was going to write my paragraph of an answer. Okay, so I will say if you've ever participated in SBIR before, you'll hear this notion of some agencies, like non-DoD, other agencies do what is known as a direct to phase 2. That is a special kind of topic where it doesn't start at phase 1. If Navy does participate in those, it has this, they will be posted on the same schedule as the phase 1 topics. So I think it was the April, August, and November dates that I had mentioned. If there is a direct to phase 2 topic that's listed in there, you will see that also along the same schedule. Now, generally, Navy doesn't do direct to phase 2 topics. We typically, when we post a topic, it's in ways for small businesses to get a phase 1 award. So in that particular case, it would be, you would get the announcement. There's no announcement that's actually posted for phase 2. It's actually a down select decision that's only available to the phase 1 awardees. Sorry, I'm reading as I'm doing about a clarification.
The clarification is phase 1 is awarded when they hear back about a phase 2.
Got it. Okay. So, wow, and this is going to sound really bad too. It does depend. So there is, I would say, it's not a set in stone, but as a program manager that enforces the process, I would say we typically do not give no more than 30 days to send notification out to the awardees of phase 1 to see when to get the phase 2. There's not really a requirement beyond that. There's not a hardcore deadline set by SBA. It's just something that, in truth, we could take as long as we want, but we don't do that because we do get evaluated as an agency as a whole, how quick we can get started with phase 2 after phase 1.
Thank you. sorry, I got distracted by another question. So I think he asked it twice. I'll ask the first one. So it's, can you provide more information on technology transfer for small businesses? And then he asked STTR. So Mohan, so technology transfer is actually its own kind of program, which is called T2 of the Audit Office. And then STTR is the partner or like the sister program to SBIR. So for STTR, I'll do a brief one because we only have 4 minutes left. But the only difference between SBIR and STTR is that with SBIR, you can subcontract some of the work. With STTR, you must subcontract at least 40% of the work to a research institution or university. So that's kind of the biggest difference on that. And if you want more information on the technology transfer office, I can send you a link later to their own program office. They have their own program manager, which is Paul Herbert. I also wanted to know on some of the stuff that Shadi was mentioning. This is very specific to the Navy. SBIR is huge and it's across 11 federal agencies, and each agency has its own process. So everything we're mentioning here is very Navy focused. So that brings me to my next question that was asked, which is, are there standard contract templates for phase 1 or phase 2? Are the contract templates for awardees to use with subcontractors? And can you use a NASA SBIR contract as a model for a Navy SBIR contract? Shadi, take it away.
Okay, so on the Navy, we will put a link on the chat. So Navy SBIR has their own website. The website does contain templates that we use that standardize across the Navy. I believe we do have some examples of some of the contract types. Every contract is a little bit unique and different, but there are some templates that are listed in there. I think they call it forms/templates, and you can refer to there. Or I think if I do my job right, it's navysibir.com/forms. In terms of, okay, so I think that the last part was, if I have a NASA contract, can I sort of adopt that for Navy and create a contract on it? So one of the things, and this is another piece that we encourage you to kind of do, look at some of our videos because we make a mention of that. One of the key things about SBIR CTR is that if you've already been awarded, we can always extend or adopt a previous award and create like a phase 2 award based off of it. So think of it as like something that you've already capitalized on the funding. You've already gone through a development process, and we're just adopting it from a different agency. When it comes to the contractual elements, we won't have the same contract as the other agency that you did get the award. We have our own contract structure, but nonetheless, it would be very similar in certain aspects. Like there's a notion of where we post about what deliverables, and then we also post like about your data rights in there. There are certain clauses that are in there that might be similar across the different agencies. So it won't be the exact same contract template, but there is still that possibility that we could adopt a previously awarded SBIR.
Thank you, Shadi. And then we have 1 minute left. So a couple of things. One, I want to thank Noel and Brian and Shadi for being here today. I know your time is very valuable, so we appreciate you having this workshop with us and sharing your program and your program office. So thank you very, very much for being here today. And then for our speakers, not our speakers, for our attendees, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please visit our website. We have a contact form there that goes directly to my email, which then goes to Shadi's email. So we will share the video for this later on. It is on our website. And if you have any feedback, if you have any thoughts of what other subjects you like us to cover during workshops, please let us know. We're super open to what you need to see how we can help our community and the small businesses. So thank you so much. And we'll see you on our next workshop. Thank you.